get here. Java, Sack, and Blaze to be able to get up into the top 8.
We're going in. We can barely talk. I wanted to talk about how Jeff only got 3 top 32 finishers into his first top 8 at a LAN, but we're going straight into the game here. D-Light and Sig from Jeff. These guys aren't playing around. We're 10 seconds in, and Stingray is already yellow.
And so we have to talk about the character representation from Jeff, because Thor, nobody touches this character at all. And so this is amazing, amazing that we get a chance to see this.
Second stops there. Dude, Jeff has barely gotten hit so far. Stingray is having a hard time against Jeff. The US West Demon. Maybe Jeff is the Megalodon in the room.
Oh, he is scary.
Okay, barely any hits taken. Jeff popping off here in the first stock of the first game.
That's such a confident and a strong opening. So let's see what Stingray does. Picks up the sword, backing off a little bit here. Weapon toss, looking for the GC pivot D-Light. Not going to come out quite yet. Both of them are opting just to slow the game down. Sidelight, neutral, begins a juggle. Jeff escapes to the platform and uses that as the way to get back down.
There's some damage build up here. Stingray is able to not go for even trades here, but actually catch up a little bit. Sidelight comes out. Jeff opting to jump out of that. So now Stingray might be able to get a read if Jeff does not adjust in time. Gotta stay unpredictable at all times, especially when you're fighting Spear.
Okay, Jeff is just moving around, and Stingray has not been able to catch him quite confidently yet. Picking up the sword now, gets the downer, not able to follow it up into the sider. Going through the weapon toss to be able to get some space in against Jeff, and Jeff catching Stingray, dashing on in and with the stomp.
I love the use of signatures coming up from Jeff as well. As you mentioned, you know, the character representation for Thor has been low for quite some time. So every time you see these things coming out, it's like, remember me? How, do you remember how to space away? Do you remember how to punish these options that I'm going to be abusing?
And Jeff has not shown his cards. He has not shown his hand quite yet, right? So right now, just standard hammer stuff. Not even on the orb. He has been only playing hammer through the entirety of this game.
Standard top level hammer stuff right now. I mean, Jeff has been performing excellent so far. Stingray able to get a couple of shares in though. 1 stock lead now for Jeff. Stingray is going to have to try and close this up. Potentially, he's started a little bit of a download, able to get a read on the spear. But I mean, Jeff, his neutral is so good. You just take a couple of stop shares and this is Jeff's game.
He gets a downer. He's able to get the sidelight. No immediate follow-up quite yet. Looking for the D-Light, and that's just going to be a quick sidelight punish on behalf of Jeff. Gets the sider, doesn't follow it up into the neutral. And right now, the biggest difficulty for Stingray is Spear is not a weapon that you want a lot of one-off hits. You want strings.
Yeah, Jeff really respecting Spear here. Every time he takes a hit from Spear, it either goes up or out straight away, trying to create that distance. That's what he wants. Those quick 1-2, 1-2 interactions. But what is that combo? That could have almost been, I don't think that would have been the stock, but I mean, that Sayer would have been detrimental. Stingray, though, able to get that stock in. He's very, very slowly, you know, catching up on that lead. It could be too little, too late. You can't afford too many hits now before you're out. The sidelight comes out. Jeff has been using so many of the side sigs. We're going to see a sidelight Sayer coming out instead, almost a knockout.
Not quite yet. Jeff trying to space out a downer, playing nice and safe, dashing in, dashing out. Stingray not able to establish neutral quite yet, dashing in with the weapon toss. But luckily for Jeff, it does not actually connect, and Stingray did not get punished. That's 1 downer. Just being really patient here. Nobody really wants to commit too heavily quite yet.
Sidelight here comes out though, and Jeff is going to be picking up the first game, doing so quite confidently as well. He had a full healthy stock left by the end of that.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I've noticed from that game 1 alone, which is, hey, Hammer knows how to control stage, especially Jeff with the Hammer. He makes it so difficult for people to get in on him. The second thing that I've noticed is Stingray was struggling a little bit in terms of getting some of his follow-up started. Hammer is not a weapon that you can go hit for hit with. That is a weapon that will go up and above you time and time again. And so we'll just have to see how this ends up progressing. This was just game 1, and I love all this love that we have from Jeff.
Yeah, loving the signs for Jeff here in the audience. Definitely has his supporters in the front row now. I bet there's a lot of support for Stingray too, but he's going to have to try and take this back, man. Jeff, as you mentioned, a lot of these games, and I hate to potentially jinx this, a lot of games whenever you have a very experienced player, the player that is seeded to win up against an up-and-comer who's been having a couple of upsets, the most common result in those games is 1-3, because they're able to take that first game. They have some form of shock value. They're able to surprise their enemy, but the level of adaptation that the opponent has is all too often way too strong. So this next game is going to be one of the most important ones for how the rest of the set will develop. develop.
One of my favorite tweets ever is going up against an old head in a fighting game, and you have to suddenly realize 20 years of character tricks that you're going up against. And so when you're fighting against a top-level player, they are the ones that are able to adapt, and they're known to adapt over the course of the set. And so I guess I'm just also curious if that is something that Jeff will be able to go toe-to-toe with alongside Stingray, or if this was just going to be the one game that he gets. But honestly, given how dominantly he was controlling neutral, given how he was just spacing out Stingray and just going hit for hit and lapping him in terms of damage, I gotta say, Jeff has a lot of momentum behind him.
I also really like to mention and talk about, you know, the mental fortitude of the competitor. I mean, Jeff, as we mentioned, this is their first top 8, and it's a top 8 at LAN. Stingray has a lot of achievements under his belts. I think that his nerves are probably a little bit stronger than Jeff's, and it's going to be interesting. Potentially, that is going to be playing a role. But we're going into the next game. We're not waiting any longer. We're going to see how it goes.
Am I seeing a character switch? Who do we have? Who's it going to be? Oh, gosh.
The Zol. We got the Zol. We got some cannon representation. We've barely had any cannon all weekend.
That's right, and here it is now in the form of Zol. It's a nice time to play Axe, and also at some point or another in the set, if Stingray sticks with the Zol, we're going to see an across-the-stage side sig connect. It's just going to happen.
D-Light and Sig already from Jeff. He got this. He got that the first stock of the second of the. He got that the first stock of last game as well. Got it 2 times this time around as he picks up a very small damage here. Stingray can definitely even this out, but not if you take a D-Sig to the face. He's knocked away off of the stage.
The move is so active. It is so lingering. The neutral is not enough to KO. Zol still going to hang on to the stock a little bit longer. Gets in there. The rising downer doesn't connect, and the stomp sider does. Jeff taking out stock 1, Polly.
Beautiful stomps here, keeping it as simple as he needs to as we're moving into the second stock now. But Stingray able to get a little bit of a string started there, able to get some chip damage onto Jeff. The thing with Cannon though is you know that as after each of those sidelines he's looking for a read. If Stingray is able to pick up one of those reads, that could change the tides of the battle very, very quickly and very hard. And
Cannon is the weapon that you need to be able to get that kind of a string with. One-off hits, hey, that's what Axe is for. So picking up the Axe now, looking for that landing. Again, that's another downer that Sting has not been able to connect to. Trying to just find any opening here. Jeff just avoiding everything that he's doing.
Every time we get into these neutral situations, the tiptoes, Jeff is able to sneak in there with a stomp there in a due time. Not that time around though. Stingray is able to break through that neutral barrier, not getting hit by the stomp there and actually getting that knockout.
Yeah, the down air and Sig, that's a little unconventional, but hey, you know what? He got the stock. It was an excellent way, and Jeff was just not ready for it at all. Whiffs that side Sig, gives Stingray an excellent opportunity to punish, but I think that was a bit of a vibe check. That was, do you know how much end lag I have? No, nobody knows on Thor. Nobody knows who fights against Thor.
Just making sure, as we mentioned, you know, saying, do you remember me? Do you remember how to punish that move? A lot of these players don't, because the Thor has not been represented for a very long time. And look at that patience, go for D-like ground pound.
Patience is one way to definitely put it. Aggression is another. Jeff wanted to close it all out. Sidelight neutral. You already know the kind of damage output that Zol is capable with on Axe. So, oh gosh, there it is. I talked about it. That's the one moment.
The side signature.
A Zol player gets one every single set.
We knew it. We knew it would come out. As you mentioned, the Zol players, they love going for it. You can't really. It's whenever the intrusive thoughts win, you got to throw out a couple.
It's so scary. It's so scary when this animal is running at you at high speed. So Sting able to even up the stock count, and especially with the Axe on hand, he can easily even up this damage too.
Able to pick up the dare though. I mean, they're going kind of even right now, getting even trades, which so far, I mean, Jeff is in the lead in terms of the damage, and he goes out for another Sair. 2-0 on the board. What timeline are we living in for this anime best out of 5? We got 2-0 right now with Jeff in the lead, Dara.
This is quite the underdog storyline. Jeff has clawed his way to be able to get into top 8 elimination side, and so he is showing that, hey, he has a place here, and he is currently up 2-0 against Stingray, somebody that I believe, I don't think they played recently, but he does not have a winning record against at all. It is 2-0 historically in the favor of Stingray. So going into the next game now, again, again, I like the switch to Zol. I thought it was actually excellent. He was just struggling to initiate. He was struggling to connect some of his down airs.
The quick string off the start. I mean, what are you thinking right now if you're Stingray? I mean, you probably were not expecting anywhere near this level of gameplay that Jeff has been delivering. Or are you starting to get nervous at this point?
Honestly, if I'm Stingray, that last game felt so doable too. He started to get a lot more presence in neutral. Axe seems to be his preferred weapon at the moment. And I am seeing a timeline where the reverse 3-0 comes into play.
For sure. I mean, I definitely don't want to jinx anything, but still, anything is possible. We are in the best out of 5 format, and anything can change.
Okay, whipping that sidelight. Jeff with a sidelight, just to be able to kick him away 2 times now. Orb, what do you want? You want sidelight, you want endlight, you want that sidelight side-out, but now Stingray, can you get this juggle?
I mean, when we were watching Jeff yesterday, one thing that I think is very interesting is there's either been a change of Jeff is deciding to play less Orb because it's Stingray, or he decided to play more Hammer overnight. He was like, you know, the Hammer's feeling way much better, I'm gonna stay off the Orb. But the sidelights here is still going to do the job. His Orb is still solid, and he's actually going to be sticking to it now as well. I don't know what I'm on about.
Doing something a little bit different. Now Sting is going to be on the cannon and not the axe, which he was so proficient with before. So we're seeing the 2 weapons that we did not get that much action from. Sidelight side, Jeff backing up, resetting. Jeff, honestly, not all that aggressive. He is just backing up and resetting, taking a page out of Kaina's book.
Sidelight Seer coming out, and I mean, he's starting to get some chip damage against Stingray right now. Another Sidelight Seer comes out. He's keeping it as simple as he needs to. And Light for the landing, recovery in the air. He's starting to build up a lead. He gets the Seer on the landing, and that should be the stock.
He is up 2-0 in game count. He is up 3-1 in terms of stock count, but you cannot count out Zol, my friends. So, no weapon in hand. Looking to pick something up soon. Gets the axe, but at what cost?
No, Jeff, don't do this. Don't do this. Not right now. Not on top 8, not on LAN, not on stream. He's getting a pro state.
That was the most sportsmanship-like thing. He just wanted to, okay? You got it. You got the set. I don't want it that bad. You get this 3 stock. You get to have the 3-0. It's all yours, buddy.
What a set from Jeff, man. I don't know what to say. I'm starting to get a loss of words at this point. Jeff, time and time again.